Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional and a respected author from Seattle, USA, Mr. Josh Epperson. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me, Ash.
Josh is an author of a book titled Bacon, Bots, and Teamwork: How to Orchestrate Success When Agents Join Your Team. He is a senior manager, organization development, and effectiveness at Amazon. We're going to speak about his book today. So, Josh, the title of your book is very unusual. What exactly was the bacon moment, and why did it change how you think about work?
Ash, as an aside, I actually searched for any other book on the topic that had bacon on the cover, and as far as I know, I'm the only one. So
Amazing.
that's kind of fun. The bacon moment really came one morning when I was in a pinch. I'm a dad with young kids, and I was helping get my kids off to school, lunches packed, bags packed, and I had some prep that I needed to do for an early morning meeting that I wasn't ready for. I had about 20 minutes until the kids would wake up, and I didn't know what to do. I was in a pinch. And so I tried to launch a research agent that we use at work. And after I created a plan that took a few minutes, I hit launch, and a little notification came up and it said, "You can close your browser and come back to this later."
Hmm.
And took about 45 minutes to complete the research task. And I closed my browser and I went into the kitchen and I started cooking bacon because
Amazing.
that's what the kids were eating that morning.
Hmm. How amazing. I've often heard of bringing home the bacon, but this is a very interesting comment that you've given me. Thank you. You also write, Josh, that this book is for leaders in the middle.
Yeah.
Why is this group uniquely under pressure today?
Well, ironically, I was talking with a friend, longtime friend, and he said, and he's a very accomplished author. And he said, this is so crazy because I was writing about middle managers in the 90s.
Hmm.
And middle managers are kind of this forgotten population in the
Yeah.
workforce that are on the front line, that are translating the strategy that senior most leaders are bringing down from on high and translating that out into operational, effectiveness and
Mm.
outcomes to the line. And so they're stretched. If you're familiar with Gumby,
Hmm.
that's often Gumby is an animal, like a figure that has these really stretchy limbs, and that's often what those transition layer leaders are feeling like. They're stretched in multiple directions,
Hmm.
expected to deliver on very different things.
Hmm.
And so agents are uniquely positioned for these folks, these leaders, because it can take some of the execution load and free up some space for strategic thinking or higher order thinking.
Hmm. And you also speak about the fact that we need to shift from execution mode to thinking mode.
Yeah.
What exactly are we losing when we stay trapped in execution? And give me an example if you can.
Yeah. Well, so like when you stay in execution, it's just
Correct.
do. And often what happens is you take the same approach and you just rinse and repeat it over and over again. And
Hmm.
what you miss out is you miss out maybe some simplification in that approach,
Hmm.
or maybe a new solution to that approach. And so what happens, and this happens at Amazon. We write a lot at Amazon, and sometimes you just what's the type of document? Is it a 6 pager? Is it a 1 pager? Is it a PRFAQ? These are all different types of writing mechanisms that we
Hmm.
use at Amazon. Well, you don't ever stop to think, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't use one of those. Maybe we
Hmm.
don't have one. And there's a VP that I work with often who actually had that moment at one time, and he said, "Wait a minute, maybe these aren't the right documents," and he created a new mechanism.
Wow.
But that doesn't just happen. That happens because there's time and space to think about your thinking.
Hmm.
And that was a big aha moment for me, a few years back with a manager I had. I said, "You're paying me way too much money to not think about my thinking.
Hmm.
And I'm spending all my time doing." And
Fascinating.
so you gotta create that space to step back and look down on what you're doing.
Fascinating. Thank you. Josh, my next question is why is stepping away from work often the moment when the best insights emerge?
So I don't know about you, but my best thoughts are on walks.
Correct.
So one of the favorite parts of my job, and this is no joke, is my commute to work. So
Hmm.
I walk to and from work. Um, it's about a 15-minute walk to the train, about a 15-minute train ride, and maybe a 10-minute walk to the office. And I have some of my best thoughts because what happens is your normal patterns and rhythms get disrupted.
Hmm.
And so when you're constantly in that go, 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 it's you're doing what you've always done. And a walk has a powerful way to disrupt that cycle
Correct.
in really positive ways. And I think sometimes we just need to step back. A lot of people will say, "Oh, I have great thoughts in the shower," or and it's because you're out of in a different context,
Correct.
and it's triggering new thoughts and ideas.
Correct. I've seen your office from outside in Seattle, and I thought even inside your office, it is quite an amazing place for you to have incredible thoughts because it's such a beautiful office. But moving on, you make a clear distinction between
Mm,
between what humans do best and what agents do best. Why is
yeah.
this separation important?
So this is so important, and it's really something that is captivating my attention right now. So I wrote Bacon Bots and Teamwork to answer a simple question, which is this: It's if agents join our teams, what the heck does success look like?
Hmm.
And the question that is in response to the question you just asked, which is why is it so important to get clear on humans
Hmm.
and that human agent teamwork? And a couple of things. One, um, there's a lot of fear.
Hmm.
There's a lot of fear of AI and agents displacing the human workforce. And all I
Hmm.
can say is there's nothing to be afraid of.
Correct.
The second thing is that we truly are better together, the human AI collaboration. I truly believe that. And that's because number three, we have to get clear on our identity.
Hmm.
And it's only until we get clear on our identity that we can start to have differentiated workflows. And so, real practical example, agents work backwards from a set of parameters and conditions and things that exist.
Hmm.
Humans are not constrained by that.
Right.
And so, for instance, take decision making. We're all making decisions all the time. Old good friend of mine talked about the difference between deciding and choosing.
Hmm.
And if you go to the Latin derivative of the word decide, it literally means killing off the objects that are on like your table. So let's
Hmm.
say you have four things on there and you're going to decide between one of the four things. This is how agents work. Within a set of parameters, I've got four things to choose from. I'm going to pick the best one.
Hmm.
But humans aren't constrained by that. Humans can exhibit volition and choice and choose things that aren't even currently on the table. We can look ahead, we can think about our lived experience. And so, what's important is that we don't try to operate like machines,
Hmm.
that we use machines and agents for what they're great at, looking at the probability and odds of existing set of choices and circumstances and serving up the best one,
Hmm.
but that we also take our rightful place in the story and say we don't have to be constrained by that.
Great
We
response.
can we can look ahead.
Great response. Thank you. Next few questions are on AI, and you have a lot of understanding of this as well. Many people believe they are already using AI effectively. Most people think if they know ChatGPT, they know AI. Why do you argue that most of them could be mistaken?
Well, I think because for many people, I don't hear the moment that it clicked. So the bacon moment for me was a really big moment where it just came alive of what is
Mm,
possible. And I don't often hear that sort of engagement with the technology. I hear engagement around creating comparison to what they already know. So
mm,
it's like a glorified search engine,
yeah.
right? Or I heard somebody from Anthropic say today, Anthropic and Claude, the Claude model say today, oh, this is a glorified spell checker, is what some people think.
Mm,
And so I think for me, when I hear that sentiment, it's a clear signal that, oh, you haven't had that moment
correct.
yet. You haven't
Correct.
had that moment. And so that's the moment that I want to help create for people when it really clicks and takes off.
Amazing, amazing. You were just a few minutes ago back. You were telling me about about an agent, and my next question is that could you help us understand what is the important difference between an AI
Yeah.
chatbot and an AI agent?
Yep. So there's a few things, and I'm not going to get them all perfect. Stuff is changing so often, but just for a general understanding, there's a couple pretty big differences.
Hmm.
With a chat-based interface, you are there with it going back and forth, right? So I ask it a question, it responds. I follow up, it responds. Well, what I'm doing is I'm inviting the technology into my workflow.
Hmm.
That's really productive for brainstorming, for thought partnership, for iterating an idea. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't get you out of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so agents you can launch as parallel work processes and step away. You set the parameters and you let it operate within a set of conditions,
Hmm.
and you don't have to hold its hand by going back and forth with it.
Right. Right.
And so that's one of the biggest difference. Practically, what this looks like is, for instance, you're a travel agent and you need to book trips for an itinerary, and you're working with one of your clients and you know what they want, what they don't want. Well, you set up parameters
Hmm.
for this agent to work in parallel to you to create an itinerary, to find tickets for you.
Hmm.
What happens though is that it's not fully autonomous. So it'll work in parallel to you, and then it'll bring you up some choices. Do you want to go to this metropolis or this non kind of urban area?
Hmm.
Do you want these sorts of activities or those ones? So it does that all in parallel, serves it up, and then you get to make decisions around what you want to do next. But
Very
the
interesting.
big difference is that a chat requires your active participation. An agent is capable of working semi autonomously in
Right.
parallel with you.
Well said. You also describe a new daily rhythm of work. What
Yeah.
is the biggest mindset shift leaders struggle with when trying to adopt to this new rhythm?
Well, I can speak for myself more than anybody else.
Yeah.
So one is I just forget. I
Hmm.
forget that even as profound as the bacon moment was and is for me, I forget, oh, just go launch an agent on that and go get the first rev of something done while you're doing something else. And
Hmm.
so I think I have over 20 years of my own work rhythm, right? Not to, and we haven't even got there, but not to talk about the identity shift.
Hmm.
But my own work rhythm is I sit there and actively do the work. I go back and forth and I grind through it. The notion that I set it aside and have somebody else do it, and it's not a person, like it's just hard to do that. And then
Hmm.
the notion that I can launch three, four, five X number of agents at the
Yeah.
same time and they can
Mm.
all go in parallel. Like it's just hard. And the only way to do it is to practice and build new rhythms and new
Mm.
habits.
Well said. One of the sections of your book, Josh, is about identity.
Yeah.
Who does a leader become when they stop being the primary executor?
Yeah. Well, so I've built since I wrote the book, and it was primarily written for the translation layer leaders, but as people have read it and given more and more feedback and kind of shared their engagement with it, there's really three personas, and two of which I didn't know I was even writing to at the
Hmm.
time. So one is the translation layer leader, the other is the owner operator, and then the third is the legacy kind of large corporate leader.
Hmm.
And I bring up those three personas because their journey around identity shift, they all have a really specific journey,
Hmm.
but it's unique based on their persona. And
Hmm.
so for the translation layer leader, it's really the shift from um, I do it all to I do it and I also think about what I'm doing. So it's that tactical to strategic trans. And one of the biggest challenges there, real simply, is that when you are known as the doer,
Hmm.
as the one who delivers the results, it's hard to give that up.
Hmm.
It's hard to be the one who then whose success is then through other people
Right.
or through something else. So that's a hard
Hmm.
transition.
Hmm.
For the owner operator, it's usually the transition is all roads lead to me to roads lead to me. In fact, many of them don't anymore. And when you're a founder, it's really hard to not have a road lead to you
Hmm.
because because it's your blood, sweat, and tears that
Correct.
started this thing.
Correct. Correct.
And then for the third one, the large corporate leader, the transition is difficult. It's one of navigating legacy systems, technology, a lot of tech debt, and the way that large corporate leaders often make their way through challenges is they
Hmm.
have resources, they have cash. And so the inclination is just to spend, to buy your way through it.
Correct.
The problem is that that actually creates more complexity.
Hmm.
And so you layer on new technologies on top of legacy technologies, and what has served you well in the past doesn't serve you well now to adopt AI
Hmm.
based on your persona.
Well
So
said.
long answer, but
No,
three personas, three
it's
journeys.
a great response. And therefore, my next question for you, Josh, is how can leaders let go of control
Oh,
without
yeah.
feeling irrelevant?
Yeah. It's interesting how you frame the question. How can leaders let go of control without feeling irrelevant? And I don't know that you can let go of control and not feel irrelevant. I think
Right.
you're going to feel irrelevant. But just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true.
Hmm.
And so I think we have to be careful that if I'm feeling irrelevant, I need to kind of peel, we use a phrase, peel the onion back a little
Hmm.
further
Hmm.
and say, am I, or how am I reframing my relevance? How could I
Hmm.
reframe? And this is very true for translation layer leaders as people start to elevate in organizations.
Hmm.
They have to reframe their understanding of success. And so when success at one point in my career is I'm known for doing it all, and now I have to reframe success as success not just me, but my success is through other people.
Hmm.
And so it's really hard because the bottom line is it is going to feel irrelevant.
Hmm.
Like it is a challenging feeling.
Yeah.
So you have to reshape the narrative around what success is, and often that contradicts what you're feeling.
Hmm. Well said. What early mistakes do you see leaders making that cause them to abandon agents too quickly?
Mm. Oh gosh, I could even beyond. I'll just
Write a
make
new
it
book
really.
about it, probably.
I'll make it personal and even more down to earth and home. I'm coming back from a road trip. I was on vacation last week, and my wife and I were asked to write a letter of recommendation for someone we care deeply about. And I said, "Oh, let's use AI."
Hmm.
And so we pull in all the criteria for the letter of recommendation, and then we brainstorm a few things, and we just ask AI, "Hey, tell us what are the top 5 things, top 5 questions we should answer." And so we get the top 5 questions, and we start answering those. And at about the fourth question, I can see it on her face that she's exhausted.
Hmm.
Like, what? What's wrong? And she says, "This just feels like it's taking forever."
Hmm.
And I said, "Well, how long have we been working on it?"
Hmm.
And we both kind of paused, and we were looking at the clock, and we were like, maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
And it was we
Yes.
laughed as well. It was a
Yes.
funny moment
Yeah.
because the feeling was like, oh, this isn't how I work. This
Hmm.
isn't how I do it. Right.
Correct.
And so the challenge with adoption is that sometimes it's like one of those carnival mirrors. You walk up and you're either like super, super skinny or you're super,
Yeah.
super, wide,
Yeah.
but neither's accurate.
Correct.
And so we instantly are like, oh, well, this isn't for me. It didn't happen quick enough. But
Hmm.
it only took 5 minutes,
Correct.
but it felt like forever.
I
And
know.
so part of the adoption is we have to name stuff like that. We have to say this took us 5 minutes, right? So we have to be honest about that, and we have to name the feeling that it feels really hard to work this way initially.
Hmm.
So that's a big thing. The other thing, real quickly, I'll say on
Yeah.
adoption, 2 things. Start small and make it personal.
Hmm.
So AI really landed for me about 4 years ago when I was on my porch and I was at kind of a low moment, and I journal a lot. I enjoy it. One thing I don't do is read through all my journals.
Hmm.
And I was captivated by this idea of, well, what if I could read through all of them?
Hmm.
And it dawned on me, I have a journal on my phone.
Hmm.
I said, well, what if I could download that as a text file and throw it into AI and ask it for the patterns it sees
Yeah.
about me?
Yeah.
It took me longer than it would now. It took me about 30 minutes because I was just experimenting. But I kid you not, Ash, what came back in seconds brought me to tears around the things it named that I had said about me, but I hadn't heard the patterns and I hadn't heard it reflected back. So
Brilliant.
start small and make it personal. That's how we'll overcome adoption hurdles.
Amazing. I have time for two more questions for you.
Okay.
How do you think agent teaming will reshape leadership expectations over the next few years?
Well, I can tell you what I'm working on right now. It's probably the best answer I have. I think we have to rethink how we resource organizations. So, workforce planning is a big topic in this area.
Hmm.
We've thought about resources primarily as human capital of people, but I think we need to open that up to technological resources. Automation has always been a thing, or at least for quite some time now. Agents, I think, need to be a part of that resource stack.
Hmm.
And it's different if you're reading people who are writing and thinking about this. There's some that are saying, "Oh, well, we don't consider Excel or our Word document a teammate,"
Hmm.
and they're trying to compare and contrast agents as teammates. And what I have said is agents are fundamentally different than an Excel spreadsheet,
Hmm.
simply in the fact that they can work semi-autonomously within parameters in parallel on our behalf. So I think we have to consider them uniquely. And this is a long way to answer your question, which is to say, we need a hybrid human tech resource stack. And I've created a mental model to use types of work in an organization to appropriate percentages of specific bodies of work for human resources versus agents versus automation. So just real quick, if I think about strategic differentiated work, the work that sets us apart with our customers, we don't automate or put that out to third parties because it's a differentiated capability. That's strategic leadership, that's tactical execution. It's also a significant portion of agent research in parallel, researching customer trends, buying behavior, etc. So the short answer is I've created a mental model for how we resource our organizations to include both a hybrid human tech resource stack. And that's one thing I'm working on right now.
Amazing, amazing. And my last question, and you've already given me one amazing lesson, which is start small, make it personal. But if a listener or a viewer was to remember one idea from your book, Bacon, Bots, and Teamwork, what could it be other than what you've already told me?
Most everything out available for us to read, the bulk of research right now is telling us about everything that the technology is and is not. It's really easy to forget who we are and who we are not. And my encouragement to your viewers is to get really clear on who you are and who you're not and your role in the story. Because you bring things like volition, you bring things like emotional social intelligence, you bring things like higher judgment that the technology will never be able to do. And it's what makes you uniquely you. And we need more of that in our businesses on behalf of our customers. Frankly, we need more of that in our world. And so I would encourage you to get real clear on what makes you uniquely you and lean into that.
Amazing. And on that note, Josh, I just want to say what a fascinating conversation this one has been about your book and about how you have brought in so much wisdom from your own journey into technology, AI, and human beings. Thank you so much for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thanks, and back at you, Ash.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.